Well, hey there. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Pastor Josh Pontious, coming to you from Community of Grace Lutheran Church here in Peoria, Arizona. And it's great to have you joining us online today. But I am not alone this morning. We are joined by the venerable, the esteemed Pastor Jose joining us this morning. Good to see you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You're doing great?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, good to be here.
If you're doing great, I'm doing great. But, I just want to give everybody just a minute here to remember who you are and what it is you do around here. So tell the people what you're up to.
So I'm one of the pastors here, and primarily what I work on is issues of pastoral care, and there's a whole team that works in that area here at the church. You may see people that pray for you on Sundays. There's a group of people that organizes funerals when there's a loss of life. They do prayer shawls for individuals. There's a lot of stuff going on in the prayer ministry here, and it's primarily run by volunteers. Oh, okay. And so the other thing that I do, I'm kind of behind the scenes a lot. I meet with individuals and families from the church and provide, different levels of care for people there as well. Okay. And I'm kind of the pastor to the staff as well. Just kind of look out for the staff and do that.
Well, I know that I've personally been the beneficiary of some of your pastoring, and so I appreciate what you do, not just for the congregation, but for myself and for the rest of the staff. So it really is great. And so today we're talking about loss and change and grief, and what I would kind of guess is that everybody deals with some kind of loss at some point in their life. We all know the kind of common ones, loved one dies or something like that. What are some of the less common ones that you deal with when you're working with people?
There's various types of loss. And the thing to remember, though, is that loss is loss. And so we're all going to experience it in our own unique way. Okay. And so loss is loss, and it's just, everyone will go through it their own way. The second thing is that how we experience that is going to be different as well. Okay. So sometimes there may be a traumatic loss, terrible accident, unforeseen death, things like that. And so people are going to experience that through a traumatic lens. Then there's kind of the more lifelong loss. Okay. And that's actually what I run into the most here. Okay. At Community of Grace is people get older and their lives change. They start experiencing loss, maybe loss of mobility, loss of a loved one, loss of independence. Wow. So as people go through these different layers of loss, they experience it their own way.
Wow, that's really fascinating, because it's not just that one instantaneous loss, that one time where things are one way and then they become another way. Sometimes it's a more gradual thing, and maybe you don't even recognize the loss as it's happening. It's more of a transition. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, just take, for example, someone who loses a loved one in what we would call, in quotes, a normal circumstance. They had a good life. It was a good thing. That spouse is going to have to experience their first anniversary without that person. Oof. And in most circumstances, it brings it all back. They have to go through a lot of those emotions again, but that's normal. Okay. It's my job is to invite individuals to not beat themselves up for feeling that way, but simply to invite them into that space so that they can get through that in a safe and healthy way.
Safe and healthy way. So what you're saying then is the best way to deal with loss and transition is to just smile and pretend like everything's fine, and maybe you're sad for like a day, but then as soon as it's over, everything's good and you're fine from now until the future, right?
Yeah, that always works, and that'll end you up in rehab, divorce court, with the IRS. Yeah, go for that one and see how it works for you.
Yeah. I've heard that's not always the best way.
No, don't recommend that. The best way to deal with this stuff is in community, with individuals that care about you, aren't going to judge you, and where you can have that safe space to work on you.
Okay, great. And as you said, like there's things like anniversaries that happen. There's things like birthdays and just the stuff of life that comes to remind us of those losses that we faced. And I would imagine that the process of grieving and understanding and moving on, it's not a linear thing, is it? It's not like, okay, one day I'm kind of low and then I, do the things that I'm supposed to do so it gets better and it just keeps on getting better. What you're suggesting is no, it goes in cycles and there's ups and downs and how do you deal with that? How do you navigate that realization that it can start to feel better, and how do we deal with feeling worse again when we thought we were getting better?
Be patient and be kind to yourself.
Ooh.
Working with people that are dealing with grief, it takes a long time to go through it. And you're absolutely right. It is not a linear process. You don't go step A, B, C, and D, and then you get your certificate and you're done. But even things such as anticipatory grief, things that haven't even happened yet, that we grieve things that haven't even happened yet.
Whoa, wait. You can pre-grieve for things. You can get ready to grieve for a thing that hasn't even. That's like very quantum physics things. Like you don't even have to wait for the thing to happen to start processing it.
The human soul is a complicated thing. So just think of an individual whose loved one gets a cancer diagnosis. They immediately start to think about what's to come, what there's going to lose, all of these different things. And it doesn't even have to be that big of an anticipation. Life changes create anticipatory grief. Divorces, retirements, moving to a smaller house, all of those things create this anticipatory grief, and we have to go through it.
Wow, I mean, and even some of those things seem on the surface like they could be good things, like a thing like a retirement, a thing like a transition from one job to the next, or saying, hey, this is not what I need anymore. I'm going to go get this thing that I need. And even though on the surface that's a good thing, and most people would agree, hey, this is good, this is exciting, there's still grief and loss in those moments. And that can happen to us as individuals, but that can also happen to us as communities as we are approaching transitions and changes in the life of the church, right?
Yeah. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. Community of Grace is going through some anticipatory grief as we get ready for Pastor Tim to retire. It's okay. It's normal. This is a safe place where you can get through it. You have a good team in place that can help you grieve and celebrate the changes and the transitions that are going on here. I'm excited about it, because in everything at the end of every grief process is something new. We don't finish the grief process unless we believe in something new, a new life, a resurrection.
Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful, and it's good for me to recognize too in my position here, because I'm approaching this with just all sorts of excitement, and I've got all of these things that are coming my way as I'm stepping into this lead pastor role here, and I'm trying to acknowledge that people can both be excited about the future and excited about these things that are happening, and trying to give them the space and the freedom to kind of feel what they're going to feel, right? And I've always found helpful to not try to bury my feelings or try to pretend like, oh, that's a negative thought. I shouldn't be having it. I should only think the good thoughts. I try to give myself permission to just feel what I'm going to feel. And it sounds like you're saying that might actually be a helpful way to approach this.
There's only one way to get through it, and that's your way.
Ooh.
So get to work, and let's do it together.
Well, that's good advice. Now, so it is personal for each person. Each person walks through grief and walks through change and walks through loss differently. That journey's not going to look the same from me and you and a person online and a person in our space. But are there any specific practices that you like to go to? Any books or scriptures or just anything that you found that's helpful, at least for you, that maybe people could use as a starting place?
Oh, I don't sit still very long, so I don't read a lot. So my thing is more about setting aside time for reflection. And in that time, I really kind of go into those emotions and go face to face with them. The other thing that I like to do is I like to exercise, take care of myself, eat well. And I like to be around people that allow me to be this person right now.
Ooh, okay.
Okay? That's important to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really getting to the heart of it, is this idea that each of us is walking through life. We're all going to experience loss. And some of us experience it in one way or another. We all experience these transitions. And we have here at Grace a community that is a safe place where we say, hey, feel what you need to feel and experience what you need to experience and feel love and welcome and acceptance and grace here. And so I'm excited about what's coming. I'm recognizing that there's always going to be hesitation and loss in it. But the good news is in addition to all of the incredible people that are here in these spaces and who are a part of this community, that we can do these things together, I'm grateful that we have people like you and grateful that we have people on the prayer team. And so if you're going through the stuff of life and that self-reflection time isn't quite cutting it, just reach out to our prayer team. We invite people for prayer requests online and in person. If there's something that you're going through, reach out to us. We are here to love and support and to care for you, and if need be, reference you out to somewhere else if the case needs to be that way. But this is a safe place where you can come and feel all the feelings, and we are just grateful to you, to the prayer team, and for everybody for your willingness to love and to serve and to pray and to just walk alongside all of those people. So that's it. This has been a wonderful conversation. It's a wonderful time to be reminded of the incredible things that our prayer and care team does each and every week. Do not hesitate to reach out to them. Reach out to me with anything that is going on in your life. God is up to incredible things even in the midst of those tough times, and God has brought us together to be community for one another.